Welcome to my channel. If you like the content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. As you can see in the title, I will be recapping BMF Season 2, Episode 7. All right, the episode starts out with Oda Terry, and I quote, Judas played both sides for some coin. That was his weakness, and he regretted what he did. So we learned that Detective Bryant is the one that snatched up B. Mickey, and he has him in the back of a trunk, and he's asking where's his missing bricks. B. Mickey doesn't have those bricks. So Detective Bryant decided to move B. Mickey's mom back to the subpar healthcare facility. I'm wondering by the end of the episode if this is what he had on his mind. But back to the story, B. Mickey didn't provide Detective Bryant with any answers, so he left him in the trunk. All right, so Hoop is mad that B. Mickey didn't come to the repast because he considers them to all be family. Meech didn't want Hoop to trip because so many people came out to show love. Terry, he asked about B. Mickey. Meech hadn't seen B. Mickey since he found out he was snitching. But he did call and he went by B. Mickey's house, but he wasn't there. And he also sent Sterling by to check on him. We learned that B. Mickey and Meech have been friends since the second grade, and Terry cannot stand him. Duh. Anyway, although Meech is pissed at B. Mickey, he liked the fact that he came clean about snitching. And my thoughts on this is that I assume Meech had some time to think about it. The last time they were together, Meech told him F you and that he had a choice. So I guess there's some love there. Pastor Swift is distraught about Saki passing away, and he didn't believe that Meech and the others were really saddened by his passing because they haven't changed their lives. Meech took the time to remind Pastor of his hefty contribution to the church, and Pastor told them that he was referring to salvation and redemption for their community and how they needed to repent, and then he walked off. Meech, he wasn't feeling that. Meech said that B. Mickey has been family and loyal since day one, and he handled the Cato situation with no problem. Terry thought that reason alone made B. Mickey dangerous, and that he's a lovesick rat that knows where all the bodies are buried. At that moment, Meech viewed Lamar as a bigger threat and wanted him unalive ASAP. Meech had a plan to meet with Raisin so that they could set up a meet with the Colombians. Terry disagreed with this move because they're going behind K9's back. Meech is done waiting on K9 to find a new plug or overpay once his supply arrives. So according to Meech, this is the best time to capitalize. All right, so Detective Brian and Jen are in trouble for losing the bricks from the evidence room. Jen asked what was up with his source, and Brian, he lied and said that B. Mickey was in the wind with the bricks. So Detective Brian is out here keeping secrets. I guess since he has B. Mickey in his trunk, I assume that this is the reason why he will not be transparent with Jen. So anyway, Smitty, he let them know that they're about to do inventory in the evidence room and that he needed those bricks back ASAP or they would all be in trouble. Bryant lied again to Smitty about using those bricks for a sting that they have not yet ran and that he would return them as soon as possible. Smitty gave them 1 day to return them. After Smitty left, she's nervous and she didn't know what to do, but Brian said that they need to go pay their respects. Meech is doing a toast about Saki. Then Detective Bryant and Jen walked in. Detective Bryant came in making a scene, clapping his hands, and then he walked up to Meech and said, "You got something that belongs to me." And Meech wanted Bryant to act his bitch, but he wasn't referring to Jen. Pastor Swift tried to smooth things over with Meech and Detective Bryant, but Detective Bryant wanted to know if Pastor was protecting Meech. Pastor said that he was there to bless everybody so no one would make a mistake that they could not take back. But Brian thought that it's too late now. And then he put the cigarette out in the punch bowl and he walked out. All right, there's a message from older Terry that says that in the game, everybody playing everyone else. The only way to survive is to see past the smiles and the threats to find their weaknesses. So my thoughts on this is that, of course, Detective Brown was disrespectful coming in during a family time and they're grieving. Okay, so besides that, it's just desperate times for desperate measures far as Detective Brian is concerned. I think Kevin is definitely a weakness for him. And I've been feeling like something bad is going to happen to Kevin, either by accident or self-inflicted. A thought crossed my mind about B. Mickey breaking in Detective Bryant's home and doing something to Kevin. I still haven't forgotten about Kevin's bully Marcus either, doing something to him or vice versa. All right, next scene. Meech seemed disappointed that Lori wasn't happy to see him. Lori actually has a life and can't drop everything she's doing just to cater to him. Meech told her about the repast and how he only felt safe around her and he wanted her to be his peace. Lori didn't say whether or not she wanted to be that. My thoughts? The last time they did the nasty, she did ask him if he got tired of the drug life, but since Meech has no intentions of changing, I think Lori is over it, and I'm wondering if she's starting to see other people. All right, so Charles is in his feelings and he's listening to gospel music. Come to find out, Terry's cashing out of the car riding business, and this news wasn't surprising to Lucille or to Charles, but it still hurt him. Charles said that Demetrius and the streets won. So it just never fails. This is my opinion. It never fails that everything has to be Meech's fault. Terry made his own decision and he's choosing his own path. And quiet as it's kept, his kids might not be hustling if they were able to be in a better financial position. I do believe that in Charles's mind, that this business was his one and only shot out of poverty. And it seems like Demetrius and Terry's dream stole that from him. I think Charles is also depressed. And maybe that's why he's partially why he likes messing around with Mabel, because when he's with her, I'm sure he doesn't have to think about money, kids, or just failing. All right, back to the story. So Lucille isn't quite ready to give up on Terry yet. She didn't want Charles to kick him out of the house. Charles seemed a little irritated by that, but she let him know that she's going to church and she left dinner for them. So I'm thinking Charles has his cheating antenna up and he asked her if she was staying out late. Per Pastor Swift's request, he wanted her to start a women's group at church, and the meeting was that night. So Charles decided, air quote, to work the late shift since they're going to be back at square one. Lucille didn't want Charles to worry and assured him that they'll figure it out just like they always do. And that's the same quote that he told her when Terry dropped out of school. So my thoughts on this is, of course, Charles is on his when can I see you again ish. And I'm sure Charles has big plans to get Willie one more again with Mabel. I can't wait to I can't wait to hear the I'm sorry speeches in the future when he's finally caught. Although Detective Bryant apologized for getting Jen involved, Jen took responsibility for participating in this and said that this is now their problem. So both of them are trying to come up with a plan to get out of this. Detective Bryant suggested replacing cocaine with a synthetic that doubles as coke, using benzos or something like that so that no one would know the difference. Jen said that they didn't have enough to cover 2 kilos. So Brian said he knows somebody that knows somebody. And the drugs are expensive, so they would have to put their money together to buy it. Jen says that she's only doing this so that she don't lose her job and that she feels that she's going deeper down the rabbit hole. My thoughts on this situation or questions that I have in my mind is Jen slowly going down the wrong road? Well, she ain't quite a clean cop to begin with. We can't forget that she did hit Dink with her car and Detective Bryant lied for her. But what else will she look the other way on next or participate in? All right, next scene. Monique fussed at Meech for walking into her house without knocking. I don't know if Meech has his own key or if she just left the door unlocked. That's not smart. Anyway, Meech came over to give gifts to her and the kids. He would have given the gifts to the kids himself, but they were not there. And Monique, she's still upset about that because he's the reason why they aren't. She introduced Meech to her cousin, Katina, who's in town for Morris Brown, and Monique gave her gift to Katina. But Meech took it back from her because it's private and she is too young. So Katina, she let Meech know that if he was ever in ATL to holler at her and she'll show him around. Meech said, girl, what? Meech looked at Katina like, little girl gone somewhere with that. Ill. So Monique wanted to speak privately with Meech, so she asked Katina, aka Tina, to leave. Monique wanted her and Meech to come up with a plan to take Lamar out. Meech was not feeling the plan. He did not want to involve her in it. And Monique knows how to get in good with Lamar because he has a soft spot for her, and she wanted to use that against him. Meech didn't want to involve her because she's his baby mama. Monique is concerned about the safety of her kids and she needs Lamar gone ASAP. All right, my thoughts. I have heard some people say that they think Monique has a soft spot towards Lamar. I don't really think so. Not so much will she want to keep him alive, but I think she's over him and his antics. Dude is pretty much a ticking time bomb, and she could never feel safe around him. She wants Meech involved, but if he isn't, I think she may cook up a plan of her own to unalive him. I might be sleeping on Mo, but she's not fighting in her weight class. If her plan, it has to run smoothly. She can't fail at it because what happens if Lamar knocks the strap out of her hand? I mean, Lamar is not fond of people pulling a strap on him, let alone trying to murk him. All right, so Lawanda and her mother, Desiree, are trying to get answers from this great value Cleo psychic lady named Joanne. Lawanda brought some of Terry's things, his favorite chain, brush, and belt. So Joanne, she said her friend's a man of means who likes tea. Then she asked if it was tea, the drink, or the letter. And I knew right then and there this heifer's a fraud. Okay. She actually has Terry's chain in her hand that says T, T-E-E. Get away from me with this, Apollo. Anyway, Lawanda, she told her that his name is Terry. And she said, I was just about to say that. Girl, bye. Anyway, this fraud said that Terry hasn't settled in his one true path yet and that his belt and the brush had bad juju on it and she wanted to dispose of it. Lawanda agreed to this. Lawanda answered Joanne's questions about Terry being a great provider for their son. So Desiree and Lawanda, they wanted to know if Terry planned to be with Lawanda for the long haul and to be a family. Joanne asked them to hold hands because there is something that she has to tell them. So my thoughts on this is that this is about to be some mess, child, and I'm not here for this psychic lady at all. All right, next scene. Meech and Terry arrived at the rich man, poor man party at K9 Spot. All the proceeds were being given to the poor that night. Terry went off to the bar to get a drink, and Meech and Raisin began to talk. So Raisin, he felt a way about Meech asking him to go behind his cousin's back, which is K9, and Meech didn't think K9 would trip over the Colombian since he has a new Cali plug. Raisin said that K9 plays generous, but he's really not. He remembered begging K9 to break him off once, and K9 threatened him. And on top of that, he's actually family. Quick thought, K9 did say blood does not make you family. So my question is, what is it about Raisin that K9 ain't messing with? Back to the story. Meech quoted something K9 said about everyone has a set price, and he wanted to know what Raisin's price was. Raisin, he wanted 10% on everything moving forward. Meech did agree to that. Raisin, he needed time to figure things out. He also wasn't sure if Cena would entertain him until the 20 mil K9 owes him is paid. So then a shot went off at the party, and K9's mad at Dottie for ganking him. Raisin said, you shot Aunt D, which is Dottie. And I'm like, what the hell? So no wonder why K9 feels a way about his family. Even though the lady was shot in the head, K9 wanted her off of his floor and to stop crying. Ooh, K9, you a cold piece, buddy. Anyway, so Dottie's laying on the floor in disbelief that he shot her. And K9, he moved on to giving poor people some money. So my thoughts on this is that Dottie should have known better. Maybe she thought that because they were family that somehow those rules did not apply. But if you don't know, now you know. It just amazes me how he can unalive or hurt people in front of others and nobody says anything. I guess he ain't really worried about nobody snitching on him. I guess he dares somebody to snitch on him. So he's definitely feared in these streets. Although Detective Bryant apologized for getting Jen involved, Jen took responsibility for participating in this and said that this is now their problem. So both of them are trying to come up with a plan to get out of this. Detective Bryant suggested replacing cocaine with a synthetic that doubles as coke, using benzos or something like that so that no one would know the difference. Jen said that they didn't have enough to cover 2 kilos. So Brian said he knows somebody that knows somebody. And the drugs are expensive, so they would have to put their money together to buy it. Jen says that she's only doing this so that she don't lose her job and that she feels that she's going deeper down the rabbit hole. My thoughts on this situation or questions that I have in my mind is Jen slowly going down the wrong road? Well, she ain't quite a clean cop to begin with. We can't forget that she did hit Dink with her car and Detective Bryant lied for her. But what else will she look the other way on next or participate in? All right, next scene. Monique fussed at Meech for walking into her house without knocking. I don't know if Meech has his own key or if she just left the door unlocked. That's not smart. Anyway, Meech came over to give gifts to her and the kids. He would have given the gifts to the kids himself, but they were not there. And Monique, she's still upset about that because he's the reason why they aren't. She introduced Meech to her cousin, Katina, who's in town for Morris Brown, and Monique gave her gift to Katina, but Meech took it back from her because it's private and she is too young. So Katina, she let Meech know that if he was ever in ATL to holler at her and she'll show him around. Meech said, "Girl, what?" Meech looked at Katina like, "Little girl gone somewhere with that." Ill. So Monique wanted to speak privately with Meech, so she asked Katina, aka Tina, to leave. Monique wanted her and Meech to come up with a plan to take Lamar out. Meech was not feeling the plan. He did not want to involve her in it. And Monique knows how to get in good with Lamar because he has a soft spot for her, and she wanted to use that against him. Meech didn't want to involve her because she's his baby mama. Monique is concerned about the safety of her kids and she needs Lamar gone ASAP. All right, my thoughts. I have heard some people say that they think Monique has a soft spot towards Lamar. I don't really think so. Not so much what she want to keep him alive, but I think she's over him and his antics. Dude is pretty much a ticking time bomb, and she could never feel safe around him. She wants Meech involved, but if he isn't, I think she may cook up a plan of her own to unalive him. I might be sleeping on Mo, but she's not fighting in her weight class. If her plan, it has to run smoothly. She can't fail at it because what happens if Lamar knocks the strap out of her hand? I mean, Lamar is not fond of people pulling a strap on him, let alone trying to murk him. All right, so Lawanda and her mother, Desiree, are trying to get answers from this great value Cleo psychic lady named Joanne. Lawanda brought some of Terry's things, his favorite chain, brush, and belt. So Joanne, she said her friend's a man of means who likes tea. Then she asked if it was tea, the drink, or the letter. And I knew right then and there this heifer's a fraud. Okay. She actually has Terry's chain in her hand that says T, T-E-E. Get away from me with this, Apollo. Anyway, Lawanda, she told her that his name is Terry. And she said, I was just about to say that. Girl, bye. Anyway, this fraud said that Terry hasn't settled in his one true path yet and that his belt and the brush had bad juju on it and she wanted to dispose of it. Lawanda agreed to this. Lawanda answered Joanne's questions about Terry being a great provider for their son. So Desiree and Lawanda, they wanted to know if Terry planned to be with Lawanda for the long haul and to be a family. Joanne asked them to hold hands because there is something that she has to tell them. So my thoughts on this is that this is about to be some mess, child, and I'm not here for this psychic lady at all. All right, next scene. Meech and Terry arrived at the rich man, poor man party at K9 Spot. All the proceeds were being given to the poor that night. Terry went off to the bar to get a drink, and Meech and Raisin began to talk. So Raisin, he felt a way about Meech asking him to go behind his cousin's back, which is K9, and Meech didn't think K9 would trip over the Colombian since he has a new Cali plug. Raisin said that K9 plays generous, but he's really not. He remembered begging K9 to break him off once, and K9 threatened him. And on top of that, he's actually family. Quick thought, K9 did say blood does not make you family. So my question is, what is it about Raisin that K9 ain't messing with? Back to the story. Meech quoted something K9 said about everyone has a set price, and he wanted to know what Raisin's price was. Raisin, he wanted 10% on everything moving forward. Meech did agree to that. Raisin, he needed time to figure things out. He also wasn't sure if Cena would entertain him until the 20 mil K9 owes him is paid. So then a shot went off at the party, and K9's mad at Dottie for ganking him. Raisin said, "You shot Aunt D," which is Dottie. And I'm like, what the hell? So no wonder why K9 feels a way about his family. Even though the lady was shot in the head, K9 wanted her off of his floor and to stop crying. Ooh, K9, you a cold piece, buddy. Anyway, so Dottie's laying on the floor in disbelief that he shot her. And K9, he moved on to giving poor people some money. So my thoughts on this is that Dottie should have known better. Maybe she thought that because they were family that somehow those rules did not apply. But if you don't know, now you know. It just amazes me how he can unalive or hurt people in front of others and nobody says anything. I guess he ain't really worried about nobody snitching on him. I guess he dares somebody to snitch on him. So he's definitely feared in these streets. All right, next scene. Terry seemed to be spooked about K9 because he told Meech to forget about trying to set up the meeting with Cena. My question is Terry scared or is he cautious? Back to the story. It didn't matter to Meech how Terry felt about the meeting because it was going down. Terry thought that K9 is a psychopath, especially after shooting the lady in the head. Raisins already is making hotel arrangements in St. Martin and he's coming to translate. Terry didn't know how Meech could trust someone who would betray his own blood to help them. Because neither of them knew Spanish, Meech said that he was going to be there to interpret. Terry didn't know how they would understand Cena, but what he did know was Raisin wasn't coming with him. This meeting could potentially change them from being buyers to being suppliers. If they were suppliers, K9 and Boom would be able to cop from them. And Terry, he was with Meech on that part, but he said that Raisin wasn't coming with them and that he would actually be the one that's going to translate for him. Meech wasn't feeling that because Terry only had 2 high school semesters of Spanish. All right, next scene. So Markeisha has gotten accustomed to Terry getting in her line every time he comes there. But this time, Terry shook things up and he went to her co-worker's line, Dwayna. So Markeisha is over there with a stank face, jealous, and Terry requested 2 tickets to St. Martin. The lady thought that that was romantic, and I'm thinking, lady, that's a baby. And I'm just wondering, how old is Terry? They never really said that on this show. Let me Google real quick. So the real Terry, he's born in January of 1970. Again, I believe this particular time frame that we're in is between 1988 and 1989. On a previous video, I said that Coming to America came out in theaters June of 1988. Also, Lamar said at the police station with Meech that Batman was coming out, and Batman came out in 1989. So in real life, Terry should have been at least 18 years old, but perhaps for the show, maybe he's 17 or 16. I don't know. Back to the story. Terry was flirting with Dwayna and told her to leave her card on there so he could call her later. Terry, he wanted to know if they had any Spanish translators in their travel guides, and Markeisha is jealous looking at them talk. Dwayna went to go get his tickets, and Markeisha brought her jealous ass over to Dwayna's desk to tell him they speak French in St. Martin, Dutch on the other side, and English in both. Terry, she asked what he needed it for, Spanish in particular. And he said he needed it for tourism because you never know where the ladies will be. Dwayne came back to her desk and informed Terry that their guides don't have Spanish. So Marquisha, she referred him to a place where he could take a crash course that night for Spanish. Terry said that he'll think about it. He also requested that they throw away the car riding brochures because he's no longer in that business, and he only thanked Dwayna, and he left. And Marquisha over there looking stupid, jealous, and ignored.
I just said that to get you mad.
All right, next scene. So Lamar and Blackie are at Monique's house. Monique thought it was cool that Lamar has a dog that he trained, and Lamar, he's been giving his dog a lot of TLC. So she told Lamar that she thought about what he said about Meech, and what Meech did to him was effed up. And Lamar said that she didn't have to apologize. So Monique went on to tell him that she did feel that she needed to apologize because she'd been thinking about it for a while and she wants to build their family back. But she knew that she couldn't do that based on a lie. So Monique, she is really playing on Lamar's heartstrings by telling him that Zoe is really his daughter. Lamar is excited to hear this news, and he felt like in his heart that she was always his, and he knew it. So, my thought on this is that Monique is out here playing a very, very dangerous game, and she is laying it on extra thick. Mama, you better watch yourself. You better make sure that plan works because he will pop you. After hearing Lamar's story, Monique no longer wants to keep Zoe away from him, but she said that a lot has happened between them. Lamar knows it and he wants to take time and build back trust, and he's willing to do it. So Monique, she noticed that the dog looked sick and he wanted to go ahead and leave so he could take care of his dog. Lamar tried to give Monique a hug, but she reminded him that we're taking it slow. So after he left, Monique pulled the strap from her back and placed it on the table. I mean, my thoughts on this is all I gotta say is Monique, snap and pop, snap and pop. And you know he'll do either one with you, either with the gat or with his hands, because he wore you out the last time, girl. All right, next scene. So Terry's mad at LaWanda for going to a psychic who told her that she's pregnant. Terry's buying LaWanda another test, but she had already taken 3 tests. The psychic only confirmed LaWanda was pregnant and everybody wouldn't be happy. So Terry, he didn't care what the psychic confirmed. He demanded that she take another test and go back to that witch and get his stuff back. False prophets are against Terry's religion. Okay? So LaWanda didn't believe he had a religion, or at least one that he practiced regularly. So Desiree, she added her 2 cents in because she knows it and she's always in somebody's business. But anyway, she tried to stay out of their business, allegedly. Okay, that's what she said. And she said that babies are blessings and asked if he was going to turn his back on what God was giving him. So by this time, Terry was already fed up and full with emotions. So he just said, he just left. Bye. My thoughts on this situation, I believe that Desiree manipulates LaWanda. Desiree is the reason she went to the psychic in the first place. You can't make anyone like or love you. You got to get this we need to be a family foolishness out of her head. Terry doesn't want you, and this new baby is messing up his plans, girl. So you got to be the one to stop fighting for your family because you're fighting by yourself. It may take LaWanda a while to get this, but I hope she gets it soon. And I bet you her mama is single and lonely. Another thing, did we actually see LaWanda's pregnancy test, or we just gonna take her word for it that she took 3 tests? I don't know. I'm gonna keep our eye on you, girl. You Desiree's daughter. I don't trust you. All right, next scene. So Terry told Marquisha that he and Meech have a big opportunity with the Colombians. After reading Keisha's note, he did not think that she wanted to ever speak to him again. And I'm wondering who made contact first. Was it him or Marquisha? But if I had to bet on it, I think it was Terry, especially after he left his baby mama's house and him being so upset with her and Desiree. So anyway, Marquisha, she apologized and she told him that he's not a boy, which she's a liar. And my take on this is that I'm just trying to figure out why Terry still wants her. She's already shown him she is about her money. And if you don't have it, she cannot be with you. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing always, but she gives me gold diggerish vibes. So anyway, um, and I want her to figure out if she still wants to be married and if she's tired of Hoppo beating her. So back to the story. If everything goes well with the Colombians, he will be able to buy, he said, our house. And he wanted to take care of Markeisha and her kids. I knew after she left him that note the last episode that he was going to get a place of his own. But Markeisha, she said that she was happy for him and she told him, do not forget that you are a closer. And my take on this is that, one thing about Markeisha is that she will accept Terry for who he is, which is a drug dealer. And she did this from the beginning. LaWanda, she always hated that about him and wanted him to stop so he could be a family. But he wanted to be a drug dealer and have a family. There's nothing wrong with wanting financial security in your relationship, but I do question how down Markeisha really is for Terry if he doesn't provide that for her. Anyway, Terry bought Markeisha some flowers. They started dancing, and he used this opportunity to come clean to Markeisha about Wanda being pregnant. And he said that this must have happened before things got serious between the two of them. So Markeisha being all judgmental, like, wow, Terry. Hey girl, do your husband know you out here with Terry? No. So anyway, can she really be mad or disappointed in Terry? I don't think so. And another thing, Terry, please come clean to LaWanda before the streets snitch on you. But he did admit that he wasn't in love with LaWanda and that he loved her. Only if you can tell that to LaWanda, child. LaWanda and Desiree used this as an opportunity to talk about Terry. Desiree didn't like how Terry spoke with LaWanda. Lucille mentioned how blunt Terry could be, but she assured her that he would take care of his obligations. Desiree, for some reason, she didn't consider LaWanda and TJ as obligations. Desiree has mind control over LaWanda, and she basically wanted to know if Lucille could do the same thing with Terry. Girl. Anyway, LaWanda wanted her mom to chill out, and Lucille, she ignored Desiree because she knows she's ignorant and assured LaWanda that anybody that she brought into their home would be loved and be part of their family. All right, next scene. Mabel surprised Charles by inviting him to a strip club. Charles wasn't sure that this was a good idea for them to be out in public. You think, Charles? Anyway, I wonder if they are on the other side of town, and that's why she felt comfortable taking him out in public. My first thought with seeing the girls sign, no cap, was that Meech was going to be there. Because Meech loves him a good old titty bar, huh? Anyway, Mabel, she asked if he had ever had a lap dance, and he hasn't. She asked him if he has been with two women, and he says that he's had sexual relations with more than two women. Mabel then asks, has he been with two women at the same time? And Charles was shocked that she asked him that. He was like, hell no, you must think I'm some type of freak. And Mabel should have been like, no, baby, I'm the freak. About to turn you out because, honey, she got hoes by the layers, all different flavors up in that club. Anyway, this is trouble for Charles. So Charles asked Mabel if she's ever been with girls, and she just smiled and called the stripper over so she could give her some money. So Charles is getting his lap dance, and he ended up locking eyes with Meech. Charles was so embarrassed that he got caught cheating on his wife that he left the club after locking eyes with Meech. So Meech was already there with Sterling, and they were talking business about B. Mickey. So far, Sterling has not been able to locate him, and Meech wanted him to let him know when he find B. Mickey. So it just didn't surprise me at all that Meech was going to be there. He should have had Mabel go in there first to check the place out since y'all out here creeping in public, right? And I'm trying to figure out why Charles didn't see Meech's car in the parking lot, or did he not know that he had a new whip? All right, next scene. So Terry's packing for his trip to St. Martin. He hurried up and put the gat in his luggage before Nicole could see it. Nicole came in Terry's room messing with him about being an aunt again, and Terry said, "You heard wrong." So Nicole, she let him know that she's heard him and Desiree having the sex, and Terry decided to teach her about sex education. So they were making noise in the room, which brought Lucille and Charles in there. And Lucille let Terry know that LaWanda and Desiree said he's been unchristlike about the baby. And I'm thinking Terry ain't the only one in the house acting unchristlike, Lucille. Terry was just surprised to hear that LaWanda is allegedly pregnant. Charles waited until the coast was clear to ask Terry if he's spoken to Meech. And he has not spoken to Meech. So Charles left the room. And my thought is, of course, I'm wondering if Meech will tell Terry about Charles. Will Charles now be nicer to Meech because he now knows his business? Will Charles confess to his wife what he's been doing? I don't think so. But Charles will definitely continue messing around with Mabel, especially since Meech is not going to say anything. I really don't see Meech telling Lucille anything, but I think he should because that's your mama. But that maybe that's some type of man code. Anyway, Meech was wrong. Meech was really the wrong person to catch Charles. Charles needs to be caught by a woman or a girl. And with them, going out in public, it's only a matter of time somebody's going to see somebody or somebody's going to say something that's just going to travel and he's going to get caught. I'm just waiting on it. Next scene. Terry cut a deal with the security guy that was charging them driver's fees in the beginning of the season at the airport. He paid that guy so that he could bypass security with the strap in the luggage. So, of course, this upset Meech. Terry, he did not want to go out of the country without a strap. And Meech was worried about getting caught smuggling a strap into another country. And Meech said that that wasn't Terry's lane, but it was his. We can't forget season 1 how Terry had one of those nerd guys in the school sneak a strap in the game for the meeting with J-Mo. I guess Terry said he'd rather be with it than without it. All right, so Terry and Meech arrived at the hotel. Meech had his eye on a lady at the bar and decided to go over there to buy her a drink, but she already had one. Then they headed back to his room. Meech thought that he was about to get him some overseas Tootsie Cat until she placed her jacket over his face, and then when she removed it, someone punched him in the face and knocked him out and took his luggage. All right, next scene. It was a close call, but the detectives were able to give Smitty back the drugs. Smitty thought that Bryant wasn't going to come through. Bryant told him not to worry about it, but Smitty wasn't convinced because Bryant has said many things over the years. And my take on this is that it sounds like Detective Bryant hasn't always came through on his promises, and I wonder what all of that consists of. Anywho, Detective Bryant was getting ready to head out to buy Kevin some lunch, and he offered to treat Jen. And before they left, Timmons brought them some spicy photos of Terry, Lickum Low, and Markeisha. All right, next scene. Terry wanted to do all of the talking since Meech got caught up in his hotel room. Since Terry was the only one who declined a cigar, Cena only wanted to speak with Meech. The two of them went out for a walk together to discuss business. All right, next scene. The detectives tried to manipulate LaWanda by showing her sex pics of Terry and Markeisha to get her to turn on Terry and tell them all about their organization. The detectives didn't know who the unidentified lady was in the pics with Terry. Jen said that there's no spousal privileges, and if she tells them what they need to know, their kids don't have to grow up without a father. Desiree told them that they needed some time and to stop pressuring LaWanda. Detective Bryant gave her 48 hours to think about it, or he would start looking at LaWanda as an accomplice. So Desiree told LaWanda that they couldn't do that. And I'm just thinking, like, here's somebody else trying to manipulate poor LaWanda. All right, next scene. Come to find out, Meech learned that this lady had been watching them since they landed, and Cena does speak English well. She requested that Meech take his clothes off and get in the water to make sure that he wasn't wearing a wire. Cena wanted to know why he had a strap if they came down there to do business. Meech said Terry wanted to make sure they were prepared even though they didn't come with protection or backup and that they showed up. Meech wanted Cena to know he's dependable. Cena got mad at Meech because he didn't show up with his money. Apparently, Raisin didn't make it clear the real reason why he and Terry were there in the first place. Meech said that he and Terry are the fastest movers and are independent of K9. The girl asked if he would unalive K9 so that Raisin could take his place. Meech let Cena know that Raisin discussed things with Cena that he hadn't with him. Meech let it be known that Cena's beef with K9 had nothing to do with him and he's there to do business with Cena for himself. Meech was so solid that he offered to pay K9's debt with their profits in exchange for K9's life. The only issue is their partners want K9 unalive. Meek said that wasn't a good business move and named all of the negative outcomes affecting business. Cena experienced those negative outcomes before and didn't want to lose any more soldiers or good product. Cena requested Terry to come in and speak. Little bro Terry came in to be the closer, as Markeisha calls him. Anyway, Terry talked about how this is a recession proof business and requested Cena give them 100 kilos up front and they would be re upping in a week. Terry said they'll recover twice that in no time. And because there's a drought, the demand is high, so they could charge whatever they want. After Meech joked with Cena about Terry being a crazy mofo, Cena decided to give them 300 kilos. Meech didn't know how they would get it back to the States undetected, but little did they know it was already there. So now the boys are moving in the big leagues. All right, next scene. Detective Bryant invited Jen to his house and introduced her as his partner to Kevin. Kevin introduced his friend Gordon to his dad. While Jen is showing the kids some movies she rented from Blockbuster, Bryant went to put his strap up in the case. My thoughts, there goes that weapon case they keep showing us again. Is Kevin going to use his dad's or B. Mickey's weapon to unalive Marcus Lloyd, his bully at school? I hope Kevin doesn't play with the strap and it goes off and he hurts himself or his friend. So Kevin is making small talk with Jen, talking about how good he is in martial arts. And I'm thinking he must feel that way in his mind or something because, of course, he would not be getting bullied in schools and having his shoes taken from him. But anyway, Jen and Kevin are play fighting and they seem to be having a really good time. All right, next scene. Lamar and Alvin are at the animal shelter. Alvin inquired about the dog's health status. According to the vet, Blackie's internal injuries from the dog fight reopened, and the vet recommended putting Blackie down. Alvin apologized to Lamar to hear that news, and Lamar wasn't trying to hear it because he knew Alvin didn't like the dog anyway. Lamar told Alvin that Blackie will continue to eat his hungry man meals because he was never going to give up on his dog. My thoughts about this scene is that Alvin knew not to say anything out of the way about Blackie, and he also seemed scared of Lamar, and he definitely chose his words wisely. All right, next scene. Detective Bryant walked Jen outside. He thanked Jen for being so kind to his son. I think that really did touch his heart. He went in for a hug and then he kissed her. Kevin is peeking out of the window watching them. And my thoughts on this scene is that it was weird. It seemed very awkward for Detective Brian. I think he's been getting those jerks in before work and he don't know how to touch a woman anymore because he hasn't dated anyone in a while. All right, next scene. Meech and Terry were looking at the products Cena gave them when they heard a weapon discharge and Raisin's now on the ground unalive. Come to find out, it was Raisin who double-crossed them from the beginning, and Meech had Sterling following him. Terry is upset that K9 would have issues with Raisin being unalive and them going behind his back. My thoughts on the scene is that Terry stays emotional about K9 or Cena. And Mitch, he pretty much keeps it cool. I try to give Terry a pass because a little nigga in high school. But God, Terry, you gotta chill out sometimes. But I don't know if Terry is just very cautious or is he scared of them or he just don't want any problems. I'm not sure. All right, next scene. Pastor is giving a word, and Lamar comes in the church, interrupting service, wanting Pastor to save his dog, who appears to be unalive. Pastor said it's too late. Lamar thought that God could save anybody. Pastor said that the dog time has passed. Lamar's mad, saying that the pastor was a fraud with no power. Pastor quoted him a scripture. Lamar called the congregation fools for putting their money and faith behind Pastor. Pastor said all that needed guidance were welcome and said to Lamar if he came to start a fight, he needed to leave because he is in God's house. Lamar started talking about the church was his house. Lamar put the dog on the altar. Lamar told Pastor to ask his flock who they pay their tithes to, and they'll tell him. And I'm thinking, is Lamar stealing the church's money? Lamar is actually mad that the church is putting their money behind Pastor, but he the one stealing from the congregation. My God. Anyway, Pastor stood on what he said, and he told Lamar he ain't repeating himself. Lamar said God called him to run the streets. Pastor came behind that pulpit, showed Lamar he had that iron on him, and he told Lamar, he said, nigga, get out. Lamar looked at Pastor like, you pulled a strap out on me. And my thought is, I don't know if Lamar was shocked that Pastor actually pulled a thing out on him. I'm wondering, will Lamar be on some get back? Does Pastor really have to watch his back? But anyway, Lamar got the message. He actually left. And someone in the congregation said, you forgot your dog. But Pastor, he said that he was mad because Lamar was trying to get him back to his east side ways. But the devil's a lie. There's also a side of me that thinks that Lamar may have grown up in church. I don't know if he's experienced some type of church hurt or maybe some hurt with God. I know he talked about before that his mom had passed or whatever. He was angry. So maybe he's been angry at God too. All right, next scene. LaWanda is at Terry's house like she always is, sitting on ready. The moment Terry walked through the door, LaWanda told him eating Tootsie Cat wasn't against his religion after all. And I'm thinking to myself, Terry wasn't eating your Tootsie Cat, girl? Anyway, of course, Terry doesn't know what she's talking about. LaWanda showed Terry the pics of him and Markeisha. I'm going to call her Auntie. LaWanda is upset because she was all in and pregnant again, but Terry moved on when she and the baby left. LaWanda is mad because Terry chose an older woman, what she calls an auntie, over their family. Terry assured her that he would still be there and care for her and their son. She said, F you, Terry. LaWanda, she gave him the pics and told him that Detective Bryant was looking for him and she was no longer covering for him anymore. Terry looked at the pics and I'm like, gotcha, bitch. My thoughts about this scene is LaWanda leaving town with the baby was just a final nail in the coffin. I mean, let's face it. Terry's been attracted to Markeisha before LaWanda even left town with the baby. And I just think that this is just young love that has ran its course. I hope LaWanda doesn't turn into a bitter baby mama from hell. But at least she knows the truth now. But it's just too bad that she couldn't hear it first from Terry. I hope she heals up and move on. As for Terry, I hope he starts paying attention to his surroundings because this is not the first time that he has been followed. All right, next scene. B. Mickey got free from his trunk and he checked his pager. Now, depending on how his digestive system is set up, I'm going to call him be pissy or be shitty. All right, next scene. So Cheating Charles finally decided to visit Meech at his record store. And I'm betting this probably was his first time there. But anyway, they made small talk about music, and we learned that Meech used to play drums at church and jam with his dad. Charles finally got to the point of why he was there, and he said that he wasn't perfect and that he and his mom are growing apart. But he did try to lead his kids down a righteous path, but he failed. And well, do y'all think that Lucille knows that they're growing apart? I mean, she is now giving up the Tootsie Cat, or is she doing what Pastor told her to do, which is be submissive? Meech doesn't think that he could be with one woman for the rest of his life, and he gave Charles props for staying faithful to his mom for so long. Charles is on his high horse saying that he and Meech are nothing alike. Meech witnessed his parents argue his entire life, and then Charles said that it's not Lucille's fault that he cheated, but they're just growing apart. Meech believes that most of Lucille's heartbreak actually comes from him, so that reason alone, he would not snitch on Charles. Meech got a page, and Charles was trying to explain himself, but Meech said it was all good. All right, my thoughts on this scene. I bet Charles feels relieved because now he can somewhat feel free to cheat again and know that Meech will not tell his secret, but also be able to enjoy a lap dance or two at the strip club. Charles is about to start having threesomes with Mabel Child. Can't nobody tell me nothing. But I'm wondering if he gonna start eating the Tootsie Cat too. I really do think that Mabel got a lot of things that she want to expose him to. He's a little green, and Mabel, she's been with women and men, so homegirl got a whole lot of miles on that thing. But anyway, trust and believe what's in the dark will come to light, and I honestly think that Meech wasn't the best person to catch Charles. I think Charles will be caught by either Nicole or a woman, and I will be there with my popcorn. One last thing. Charles has to choose if he will be the one to tell Lucille that he's cheating or someone else is going to do it for him and he's going to be exposed just like Detective Jen and Brian exposed Terry to LaWanda. All right, next scene. Terry and Meech are at K9's spot to dissolve their partnership since they are building one with the Colombians. K9, he knew all along what was going on. He just wanted Meech to come clean. So Meech stepped to him like a man and told him that the opportunity came to him and that he was smart enough to take advantage of it. K9, he said that did that make it okay though for him to backdoor him? And Meech reminded K9 that K9 actually was the one that dissolved their partnership. So was he really poaching? Meech let K9 know that the worst thing that Raisin did was betray everybody. He wanted to unalive K9 so he could take his spot. K9 said, of course Meech would say something like that. Meech told K9 that he spared his life, but unfortunately, it cost Raisin his. Meech welcomed K9 to pay it back in blood if that's what he wanted to do, but at least he came to K9 like a man, unlike Raisin. All right, next scene. Markeisha's kids are with her parents, and I'm wondering why she didn't go to her parents' house when Boom put them out in the rain. Anyway, come to find out, Markeisha got tired of Boom putting paws on her, and she snapped and smashed him over the head with a bottle. Boom's not pressing charges, though. It's common practice that he goes off on her, then he buys her coats and other things to make up for his behavior. Terry didn't understand why she was putting up with Boom's behavior and just leave. Markeisha did not like Terry's judgment. She's so judgmental towards Terry and his baby mama. I think she just wants him to herself at her beckoning call, if you ask me. But anyway, she went on about other people's opinions and judgments towards her as the reason why women don't come forth in the first place. Terry still wants better for her and doesn't understand why she's putting up with this. By this time, Markeisha is annoyed and requested that Terry take her home so that she could change clothes and go see Boom at the hospital. Terry's confused. Markeisha doesn't expect Terry to understand her situation because it's for grown folks. And Terry's just a kid who doesn't know anything about marriage. Being a teenager and all, Terry wanted to step up and provide for her and her kids. Markeisha wasn't trying to live with Terry's parents. She wants Terry to focus on his family that he has with LaWanda. And my thoughts on this is that girl, she is confused. I mean, one minute she's hot for Terry, the other minute she's not. One minute Terry's a man, one minute he's not. Stop asking this child for help. How old is Auntie? Don't tell me this girl 30. Terry said that Markeisha deserves better, but he also has to realize that he also deserves better. Terry, please take off your Captain Save-A-Hoe cape, please. All right, next scene. Straight out the trunk, B. Mickey went to the facility to visit his mother, Vernell Mickey. To his surprise, they've been trying to reach him but couldn't. He was informed his mom passed away 2 days ago. B. Mickey is now in a daze and trying to process this information, and he's crying. My thoughts? I wonder if this was unexpected. B. Mickey seemed taken back by this news. He really did love his mom, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were close. He did his best to take care of her. R.I.P. Miss Vernell. Detective Bryant, you may have hell to pay since you are the reason that B. Mickey could not say a final goodbye to his mom. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful in some way. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and turn on your notification for future uploads. Until the next video, see you when I see you.